Alright guys, so today I'm going to be going over how to set up a bait casting reel and how to cast properly and hopefully get you to not have backlashes. So first thing that I do is I set this up to 5. This little dial on the side, you'll have that. Your different reels will have different styles to them. This one is a magnetic stopper for the braking system. So you can watch other videos on how to set that up and all that. This is a 7 bearing, so probably typical. It's probably a good thing to start out with. Typical combo. You shouldn't start out expensive when you're starting to use a bait caster. I started with something simple, so this is something you should use if you're starting out. About $100-something combo. It's not expensive at all. It's kind of expensive if you're talking spin reel wise, but bait casting is different. So next thing you're going to want to do is I'm going to use a weight to start out with. So you're going to have to set it up to where you move this is your tension right here, this little knob. You move it toward you to tighten it, you move it away from you if you want to loosen it. You're going to want it to where you push the button and your weight just barely falls slowly to the ground. Once you got that ready, you're about good to go. You got to get your line set to where it's not just going to peel out just by waving it back and stuff. So you keep that nice and tight. Then if you're just practicing, you can set up a bucket in the yard. I got one there. I was just practicing flipping. So if you're going to try and do an overhead cast, leave about a foot of line out, what I like to have. You push it, then you keep tension on your spool. Then you go swing back like that. Once you're about to here, you drop a little bit of line, then you stop and pinch it off right before you hit the ground. So like, here, I'll put it. When you're going back, you let a little out and you cast, then finger on the spool right before it hits the water, or in this case the ground. And you're going to keep practicing that, try and get a couple good casts in. You shouldn't get backlashes if you do it properly. And another thing I like to do is, here, I'll cast the seven for you. You cast it out, and then you go like that 4 times, 4 big pulls, and then put in a little bit of electrical tape there. Make sure it's nice and tight so your line doesn't get caught on it when you cast. That way, whenever you are casting and you get a backlash, because not everyone can prevent that. It'll happen to everyone once in a while. Whenever you do get that backlash, if it's an awful backlash and you just have to cut as much line as possible until you're to the center of it, you won't be going to till you're spooled, and then you won't have to waste as much line because you might use more expensive line. But when you're practicing, I recommend you go to Walmart or something, get a cheap monofilament. You're not gonna need an expensive kind because you're going to go through a lot when you're learning with all the backlashes and stuff you'll get. And you're going to want to get a cheap mono, and you're going to fill it up about, I do 1/8 of an inch, but you'll need a lot whenever you go. Give it buy about 2 rounds of it so you can get 2 spools of it, because that's probably all the more you'll need. Then if you do get that backlash with that electrical tape, it'll stop too. If you're going and it's just going like that. If you get a backlash like that, you just pull it out. Then once you reach that, it's just done because you have that to stop the rest of it from backlashing. So it's kind of like your thumb pushing down on it, but it's electrical tape to stop it. Here, I'll get a backlash on purpose here to show you. You get that backlash, you just pull it, then it stops right there. Once it hits that electrical tape, it'll stop. So that's a good thing you always want to have with you in your tackle box whenever you're going, is electrical tape. I always do this just in case, because if you see a big fish jumping and you just want to get on top of it, sometimes you'll forget to push down and you'll get a big backlash. That'll get you back on the water quicker, and you'll just be ready to go. Another form I like is flipping and pitching, because if you just want to punch through those pads and try and catch a little bit of those bigger fish. Sometimes you'll catch smaller fish out of there. One thing I'll have to say now is you need braid for that, because stuff like this, if it's trying to go through grass, it'll just rip. You need that braid to punch right through it. I recommend probably around a 60-pound braid. Don't tie that directly to your spool. You'll want to connect it to a fluorocarbon or mono, and then you'll want to tie that together, and you'll be soon ready to go for that. When you are flipping or pitching, you're just going to want to let out about 2 feet of line. You're going to push, and you're just going to throw it. Just like that. Put your finger on the spool. That's every casting style, you have to put your finger on it to stop it, because they don't make them where the breakings can do it automatically with the line not going out completely, because what happens when you get a backlash is your spool's still going, but everything else, like you hit the water or the ground or something, if you slow down that much with the weight and stuff, usually it'll happen with lighter things because it's getting to pick up speed finally. So your spool's going to be picking up speed because it goes freely like this. It'll just pick up a lot of speed, just like that lure's going whenever you're casting. Like you're going like that, that's going pretty fast. So you're going to have to stop it. That way the spool stops completely and it doesn't keep going, because if this stops like this and it keeps going, more line's going to get out there. So it'll start coming out this little hole right here, but then it'll start backing up into here too, and then it's just going to get up in that. And the problem with things like this is you have this little opening right here. Your line will get in there. Sometimes it'll wrap the whole way around. You'll have to take your spool out, fix that. Other times it'll get in there and you'll just try and pull it out by yourself, and you will pull it out, but it'll rip and you'll have to hand line in all that line, and that's just a pain in the you know what. So a problem I found with whenever you're flipping is it's not going very far and you want to get out further. When you do that, you're going to have to adjust your line tension. So it will fly pretty good. That was about a 7-foot cast. That's pretty good, because you have to be out on a boat or kayak pretty much whenever you're flipping and pitching, because it's not something you can just really do from the bank. You can, but it's not really recommended. I say if you go out on a boat and you're doing it, you'll probably be pretty close. Like, you might be 4 feet away at furthest. You always have to go like that, give it a little twitch in there, then it'll be ready to go. Here's going to be a little bit of an example about how you set up if you're practicing for an overhead cast. Just go into your yard. You could use make sure it fits your rod and stuff. Don't make it too light, don't make it too heavy, but I'm just using this little egg weight. You could use a nut, like for a screw and stuff. Just get out there, you can practice. You'll get pretty frustrated, I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty frustrating when I was learning, but you just need something like a little bucket. I have out there a broken bucket that the bottom's broken out of, so I just set that up like that. And you just get out, let out your foot of line, you bring it back, let it go, give it a little cast out, and it's ready to go. So you can just keep doing that until you get more accurate with it. You go like that, give it a nice little touch like that. So you shouldn't be getting much backlash. I haven't got backlash yet. I recommend you use something that's more visible. You can see when it's in the air, because you don't want it to hit the ground and then you realize, oh, I forgot to put my thumb on the spool, because that's going to give you a backlash, or it might be a bad one, especially if you're whipping around pretty hard. But when you're out there on the water, don't be afraid to give it a little bit of a bigger cast. You just got to make sure you keep your eye on that whenever it's flying. It's usually easier with something brighter. Like typically frogs are bright. You can use a white frog. I have a yellow and orange frog. You can use like stuff like that when you're practicing, because it's weedless. You want something weedless. You don't want hooks getting caught on everything in your yard. You just let out that foot of line, push, finger on the spool, come back, let go, then just like that. Another problem that I've noticed is aiming. Like, if you're going to aim, you don't just whip it and hope it goes to the right spot. If you go like this, it's going that way. If you go like this, it's going that way. You want to get it lined up straight. You can change your angle in the air, and then you just let it go. If you were using a spinning reel and now you're moving on to this isn't your first reel you're using, it's going to be pretty complicated because you're used to just flipping her up there and whipping it out like that. But that won't work for you because you're going to get backlash. What I always do is if I know something like trout season and I'm going to be out there using a spin rod, which is the case right now, I'm going to go out in my yard after I go fishing with a spinning rod. I'm going to practice with the bait caster. That way I don't get too used to just whipping it, because I notice that usually every trout season I'm used to bass fishing and just going like that, and then you're in a wide open river or lake or something like that, pond even, you're used to just letting it fly like that. You're not used to just little casts and obstacles in your way and stuff. So that's something you got to take into a factor. You can't get too used to one thing because there's a lot of different styles out there, and you'll probably want to try them all. If you want to cast farther, I recommend you take a far cast, put your tape down first, because if you do put your tape down, it's too short. If you're trying to get out way out there, like say I want to get out there like that, and I reach my tape and it just lifts up, it's going to stop it, and you might get a backlash from it too. So you're going to want to cast as far as you think you're going to, and then you're going to do those 4 pulls, then you're going to put your tape down. If you change lures too much, or if you get snagged on something when you're fishing and it's decently far out there, you might want to pull out, take that tape out and put it on somewhere else. That way you don't end up getting backlashes and not getting that nice fish you saw jump or something like that. You want to keep it set up pretty good, keep it ready to go. That way you could, if you're anything like me, you keep those rods with you and you just have them laying around ready. Like if you go out on a boat and you have that rod ready to go, you know whenever you have to switch, you just put one rod down, get the other one up, take a cast. But you can't do that if you have it all backlashed and messed up. So if you keep practicing, you shouldn't get too many backlashes. Once you get to the point where you're getting like no backlashes, if you get into being like 30 casts, 1 backlash, that's pretty good. You're about ready to hit the water.